This conference will now be recorded.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our Friday at Lunch webinar. This is part of our fall 2018 webcast series. And today we'll be looking at the mobile application for Android. Last time we looked at the iPhone and the iPad iOS version, and today we'll be looking at the Google Android app for the Builterra data collection. Thank you for joining us, and I've got everybody muted, so if you need to ask a question, you can just use the chat window and I should be able to answer your question. And we'll leave some time at the end of the session for questions as well. So this is the agenda for today, and basically we are going to do a detailed look at the getting started session. In other words, how do you actually start off doing the photo inspections and the framework behind it. So a lot of people maybe didn't get that during the training we did or some other time when we were visiting you too. Then we'll be looking at, in detail, the basic photo inspection, going into the daily site visit or the daily progress report where it has multiple tables. And then we'll be looking at some web portal basics near the end of the session. So for those who haven't seen Builterra, or maybe you're an inspector in the field and you're not familiar with what happens on the back of the office, this is the Builterra Overview. It covers the data workflow right from design all the way through to as-built GIS. And so we did a session a couple weeks ago on Design Connect for AutoCAD Civil 3D, and we're getting a lot of good feedback from that session. So if the CAD people in the session here are interested, they can call us and we can come in and help you out connecting items in order to build a tender. The bid award is where some of you might get involved with city projects where they've already been bid, but you're just importing into Builterra for field inspection. And today we'll be looking specifically at this piece here where it's all about the mobile app. And like I said, at the end of the session, we'll review some of the web portal basics. As far as built GIS, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be showing how we're connected to the Trimble Catalyst antenna for your phone to give less than 10 centimeter quality on as-built data pickup. So we'll be featuring that in a few weeks. So again, this is the overall workflow of Builterra. So if you wanted to, you could start in Civil 3D and do your quantity takeoffs, produce your bid items, do bid processing and analysis. So at this point, after a couple of years, we are now seeing that construction companies are using Builterra for bidding. We're getting support calls now around how to do the bid submissions and support around the contractors participating. So it's been a couple of years of hard work, and we're actually at the point now where we've got customers using Builterra at almost every point in this data workflow. So it's really good news for us because it is a continuous flow of information from one department to the next. We'll be looking at the mobile inspection piece today, and specifically the app and how to use it. Keeping on with the overview, this is the project map here, the online project. So you can overlay a shapefile or a CAD drawing into the map just for referencing. It has a theming on your inspection points. Again, if you don't know how to do this, we can come in and show you guys how to do it, or you can refer to the YouTube channel for extra help. The Photo map feature, it's been a real hit. We've recently expanded it to show not just the photos, but a map that shows all your inspections. So if you haven't seen it, check out the inspection portal that shows the inspection. Maybe at the end of the session, I'll show you live how to do that. It's really cool because you can zoom in and actually pick an inspection and see what it's about, not just the photo. The tendering piece is right here. So again, this is everything from municipal, city to residential subdivisions and site plans. We can do any kind of tendering. This is building the tender and preparing it. So if you're building a schedule unit prices, performing a real-time cost estimate based on the drag and drop capability of Builterra. So if you're looking to do cost estimates from historic bidding data from your own company, this is how you do it. And exporting to Excel is our thing. So we can export all of this schedule unit prices to the spreadsheet in the configuration that you require. So there's what the bidder would see, or this is a cost estimate for this tab. The project map is the core of Builterra. It is built on a big mapping system in Microsoft Azure. So when you're defining a project, this is where all the tenders and bids are stored. Also the inspections and all of the data is under the project. So for each type of product, there's a different portal. This happens to be the project portal. And you can click on a project and you can go to the orange icon for a tender, the purple one for an inspection. So you can kind of navigate through the screen, or you can pick over here or under the portal menu. So lots of ways to navigate Builterra. You can attach photos just for marketing and information, custom details for search, lots of ways, and also for theming the pins on the map, so you can show all the different project types as a different color, or public versus private, things like that. The other thing is you can upload a shapefile, and this means that you can overlay the project boundaries in the map, so you can get a sense of what the project is all about. This is a video that shows more or less, it's about a 1-minute video showing the navigation of Builterra. So this is available for all viewers of the site. So viewers are free. If you wanted all your staff to have access to just project information or inspections or photos, you can just sign them up, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, and give them view access. So that's a free user to view and download anything. If you're creating data, you have to pay the subscription, but generally you could have your entire company on this just to view projects and photos. Okay, so searching is a great way to do a keyword search, and for all the highways on the project. You can create 8.5 by 11 project sheets and maps and lists from this portal as well under the project sheets option, and we'll do a video on that at some point soon. So getting started with our session today, we are going to focus on sort of early on, if you're a new user, how do you actually register for Builterra? I think it's important that the inspection staff have an idea about this. You should get an email. If you've been invited to join Builterra, you will see an email with a link to the register link, and this is what you will see. If you're brand new to Builterra and you're setting up your own account, I'll show you how to do that, because you have to have an account in order to do inspections and tendering. So this is what you should see as a mobile inspector. Essentially, you'll click on the link and you'll put in your name and an email and your own unique password. And this password is used for the mobile app. It's also used for the Design Connect product or the importing to AutoCAD. So it's all a common password for everybody. Okay. So we go ahead and register once you've added your name, and it'll bring you into the account. So if you are starting up a new account, then you'll see the create account option. If somebody's invited you into Builterra, then it'll already be identified for you. You've already been added to an account by somebody, maybe the administrator. So depending on where you are in the process, if you want to set up your own account, if you're a brand new company, then you would just simply select the create account option right there. Creating the account, you can put in the minimum information like your account name and the company name, some basic details, your logo, things like that, maybe the location of your office. And then you'll select the register account option. And once you do that, then you're able to create inspections, create inspection forms, tenders, everything. It's all available to you. Under the configuration of the system, of the account itself, is a manage users option. So if you're an account administrator, up on the upper right-hand panel, you'll see the account link right beside profile and portal. And this will bring you to this page. And under the manage users tab, all you have to do is add an email address down below. It says add user, and you can type in their email and submit. And once you submit, they're automatically added as a viewer. So the role of the new person is called a viewer. So as a account administrator, you would want to set up the role for that person. So if they're a mobile inspector, they would have to be at least an editor. If you want to give them the ability to change project details or add projects, they would be a project admin. Account admin gives access to what you're seeing here. So this is under the account admin rights. The inspect tool, there's 4 different levels of access. So you can see it, there's a little note below in case you forget, but basically the inspector is your typical field inspector that can go out and take photos, collect data, check and edit their own inspections and approve it. So very much a single person using the product. The coordinator can do the same thing, but they can actually create inspection forms, so somebody to manage the administration of the mobile form. The supervisor is somebody who can edit their own inspections and other inspectors. So this is somebody who can review inspections for other people, add to them, somebody a little higher up. Admin can do everything. If you're just doing photo inspection, say you're just doing hydrovac or you're doing lock grading certificates or erosion setup and control, you don't really need access to the original bid items or the tender. If you're doing progress payment certificates, then you're going to need at least a user status under tender. So this means that if you are an inspector and a tender user, between those two combinations, you have the ability to create a payment certificate. You have the ability to select items from an awarded tender to do a progress report. So it's very important that if you're doing progress, you're named as a user as well, because we have lots of users that are just inspectors and they don't need to access the bid items. Okay. So the inspection form configuration is done by the administrator or the coordinator. In this case, we're not going to talk a lot about that today because it's a whole training thing, and we're going to assume that the forms have already been set up by the administrator. So we will review it quickly and just show you kind of what it's about. And as a user, as a mobile user, you want to know that the sync option, and we'll talk about that in a second, has the ability to sync or upload any changes that are done on the mobile form or the projects or the tenders. So it's always a good idea every day to sync your phone and make sure it's all up to date. If you're a coordinator and you make changes to a form, make sure you tell everybody to sync their phones. We don't have an automatic push notification. We kind of left it up to the users to keep their devices up to date with the latest form changes. So the mobile form configurator, you can set this up without us. You can just create a purple mobile form. It could be a simple photo report or lock grading report, erosion sediment control, anything you want, or it could have multiple tables, and we'll talk about that later in the session. This is all done by the coordinator, and we do this a lot for our customers just because they get busy, and we do that as a service. So if you have a bunch of forms and you want them set up, just send them on through and we can get them set up for you. It's really just adding various details and parameter properties to these forms that allows the mobile inspector to collect data. So there's a couple of details there. So in this case, it's the daily report header, which is the location, the working day, start time, stop time. So this is a typical field, just like Excel almost, you have all these columns, that's what they are. Okay. So installing the mobile app is as easy as going, especially with your Android device, you just go to Google Play, search for Builterra, and install. There is an option to join the beta program. So if you are having issues in the field and you need a quick fix, Chris Stebbing has the ability to provide you with the access to the beta, which could solve your problem on the short term. And if it's released, say every couple of weeks we release a version, your Google Play will automatically update you to the latest production version if you're not on the beta. So lots of ways to get some quick action with the Google app. Okay, so as we discussed, you would log in with the same email and password that you used on the website. So it's that simple to get started, but you have to register first, obviously. So what now? This is kind of a framework of what these simple forms look like. So every simple form has a general details item. This is where you can get your location from the cell phone's accuracy. You can put in a name for the report and any notes for the report. These are the original two fields we had with the Builterra app, 4 years ago. So this is sort of the report name, and you can keep it optional or mandatory depending on what you want to do. The map viewer, we have a map viewer. It's the settings, and I'll show you that in a second where to find it. Anywhere, in other words, a Google map will come up and you can move the pin around based on your location. A docs viewer, that will be released for Android. I'm not sure it's available today, but the docs viewer is new and it's already in the iOS version. Right now we do have if you upload a project PDF, it will list as a document under this docs viewer. So right now it's strictly Builterra, but we will be connecting that to external document management systems, and we'll again have a whole webcast on that. The user-defined details can be anything. So these are all of the data you're going to pick up, as much or as little as you want. The photos can be captured in any, one or more photos can be captured at any time in the simple form. So these 5 basic parts make up the mobile form. And in most cases, they'll all be icons on the mobile device, and you'll see that in a second. So the Builterra App Basics, basically there's an action menu located right here. So when we talk about the action menu, if you're calling in for support or whatever, we refer to that as our action menu. So when you select those 3 dots, it pulls up a sub menu. And this is where all your settings are, things like this. So when you select it, you'll see here's a bunch of settings. So you can it's kind of self-explanatory, but the one thing that we like to do is show the map in case you want to move it around. And then there's ways to sort the inspections based on the date or the name of the project. So this is all personal settings for you. Okay. The other thing to keep a note is there's a keep photos on device after submit. So right now it's actually default to delete them, so you don't fill up your phone full of hundreds and hundreds of photos. If you want to keep the photos, you'd have to check that off. All right. Quick entry contract item, that's almost like it'll just prompt you for a quick quantity versus the current system we have, which you'll see in a second. So when you perform a basic photo inspection, it's so important for the inspector to master this. The photo inspection piece is, the sort of first step for everybody. The interaction of submitting, syncing, all of that is super important because the entire system is based on the same interaction, the same process. If you have trouble with the app, think about down the line. In other words, the photo, the inspection, the data collection is all being used by the project managers in the office. The work that you do on your app is reflected on the website. So if the more comments, the more photos, the quantity inspection, all of that is more than just, putting it in a notebook and nobody ever sees it again. This is all digital documentation that's in real time. So everything you do to help that process out really helps the entire process out. So it's kind of a reminder that it's not just about producing a daily or a single report. The general details, so you can see at the top of as soon as you create new inspection, that option there, that button, it takes you to this simple interface here. So you see at the top, there's a general, there's map, details, photos. Those are the icons or the menus available to you. So you could type in a report name and then immediately start taking pictures. So if you don't have to fill in any details, then you're immediately just taking pictures. The Get Location button will use the GPS on the phone to locate yourself. So once you're located, then you get the street name, the address, the weather, all of those details based on your location. And you can reset that anytime. You can, go back to it at any time and reset your location. If you don't like the location, you can select the map option and move your finger onto the red pin, press down and move it to another location. So if your phone's off a little bit, keep in mind that once we connect this to the Trimble Catalyst, then you'll get survey quality location on your phone. That's what it does. It overrides your phone accuracy. The details, in this case, we have only one detail. You might lookup lists are always a good idea. So as much as you can, try and put in a lookup list for location or any detail. So you can put unlimited details here. If you have a whole page of details, you can break them up into different pages, and then you'll have details 1, details 2, details 3. So there's lots of ways to really add all this information. The photos option, once you select photo, is you get a couple different options here. One is take a photo, which is a typical phone photo. It'll just take you to the camera. You'll accept the photo, and then you'll save it. Add from gallery, you can pick multiple photos from here. So you can take a whole bunch of photos without Builterra. As long as your GPS is on, then it'll retain the latitude and longitude of that photo independently of the inspection. And so you can add them from a gallery while you're sitting in a coffee shop and then submit over Wi-Fi. So there's lots of ways to collect this data. The markup is a sketching tool, which we'll talk about in a second. When you select the photo, in other words, if you want to edit this photo, you would first select save, and then if you just put your finger on top of the photo, it will actually put you into the photo editor, which is right here. Photo editor means that you can select save, delete. We are going to put a rotate option in there soon. Markup is available on the Android. So when you select markup, it will take you to a markup screen. And we'll look at that in a second. If you don't want to mark it up, if you're happy with this, when you select save, it'll take you to the original photos page. And then when you select the action menu, you submit. So submit is the same as send or transmit, however you call it. You can go ahead and submit the inspection. So once you get your location, select or add the details, pick some photos, then you simply submit, and then it will transmit those photos over the cell phone's data plan to Builterra. If you're on Wi-Fi, it'll use Wi-Fi. If you don't want to submit, then it will save everything as a draft, and we'll talk about that in a second. So a draft is something that was either unsuccessfully submitted, or you decided, hey, I'm just going to sort of exit this inspection and submit it when I'm on Wi-Fi. Congratulations, you just performed your. So this is the basics where you're doing that original inspection, and you can have all kinds of different forms for all kinds of different purposes. The draft inspections, like we were talking about, means that if it wasn't sent, it will show up sort of here. You'll see a list of draft inspections in a list. If there was drafts there, you'll see the list. And you can select any one of those, edit any of the details, and then resubmit. If you select the sync option, it will submit them all over a Wi-Fi. So you can do all these inspections and not submit over your data plan. And then when you get to a Wi-Fi, you can go ahead and connect to it and then submit. So lots of ways to work offline. Yeah, if you select a draft, it knows that, or sorry, if we'll go back to that, there's an option here called sent inspections. And the sent inspections will the list will look exactly the same as drafts, but these have been previously submitted to Builterra. So if you think, oh, I submitted that, but I really wanted to change something or add another photo to it or do something, it's like editing what you've already submitted. So when you select sent inspections, it will load the inspections that have already been sent into the same list. You'll pick it, and then you can change whatever you need to change. And then rather than resubmit, there's an option called update. And update will change the record that's been already submitted to Builterra. So you have good control over the editing process when you use this sent inspections option. And sorry, the screen doesn't really represent that. I'll have to change that in the this version. Okay, so update is now replacing the submit option. So one of the things we added was this concept of a project file. And so you can upload, say, drawings for your site. That's the most popular thing, obviously, issued for construction drawings as PDFs. And when you select the files from the action menu, it will load a file, and the listed files are here. So once you pick a file, it will show the screen, and then you can use these markup tools, the color, the line thickness, the pen, and when you're happy with it, you would hit the check mark right there, and that viewer will save that particular screenshot as just like a photo, basically. So when you save it, it actually goes to your photos list during the inspection. So when you're looking through a bunch of photos, you'll see actually marked up drawings as well. So it thinks it's a photo. And then when you submit it to Builterra, it's like you did a little screen capture, and it's really good for asphalt cuts and quantity type reviews where you want to mark up a drawing. So it's very rudimentary, and it works really slick once you get used to the concept of loading the files and reviewing them. Emailing the inspection is done, again, through the action menu. You can select the email option. For a simple inspection, you have to submit it before you can email it. So it's almost like once you submit it, you'll select the sent inspections link. So all of the actions are here in the text, by the way, in the PowerPoint. And when you select the sent inspections, it produces that list of previously sent inspections, and you'll simply reload it and then email it using the action menu. So that's kind of how that works. And you can type in anybody's email address you can have an email notification list as well. So there's different ways that you can have that set up. So the email groups list is configured by the inspection coordinator. Reviewing the inspection on the web portal is used with a laptop. So last week I showed how you can actually review it with an iPad. The new Google Chrome supports mobile websites and everything, so it worked pretty well. But for this session, we'll look at just using it on a regular computer. You can hotspot your phone and then dial in directly from your laptop in the car. In other words, it's a very streamlined website. You can load it, do your editing all through a hotspot if you had to. So you'll select the inspect option once you log in, and it'll bring you to the inspection portal. So every project is in the left-hand corner. Every inspection form is shown as a purple box. So all of the inspections that are submitted from the field are shown in the lower left-hand panel. So the inspector name, the date, the notes, all of that is configurable based on how you set up the form. So if you wanted the name of the report, you could use that instead of inspector name. It shows the location of the inspection once you select the mobile inspector, and any details that were captured are shown in the details tab in the lower right panel, and any photos are here. And remember, we talked about doing the drawing markup. It thinks it's a photo, so it'll just show it as a photo. And it's great because you can do a regular photo inspection and just do a quick markup, and it's not like you're submitting an entire drawing. It's just a finger markup of a screenshot. So this is our generic output. So this is you can have that right out of the box. You don't have to call us. Just a typical data table with some photos. If you get us to customize it, then we tie it into the custom mobile report. So if it's very specific for your company, then we'll program it to come out a certain way. And this is full page location map, which is also part of the system. The daily inspection is a little more complex. So daily is just the same as a mobile form with some details, but it's much more complex. So you have the same as a regular mobile form, but instead of calling it just a mobile form, we call it a parent form. That means that the parent has children, and the children are the tables. These tables are sort of multiple looping, almost like rows in a spreadsheet. So you can have one row of data for labor and submit it. You can, throughout the day, you can add various rows. So remarks would be the most popular for that. So you can add multiple remarks throughout the day just in one single line of information. So that whole daily reporting can be done at any time. It's not like you have to fill it all in at once at the end of the day. The parent inspection, instead of when you pick a daily report, it knows it's a complex report with tables, and it will prompt you now. It says new parent inspection. So new parent inspection, I know it sounds kind of like a bunch of programmers did that, but basically it creates a new parent form. In other words, a header. And it looks exactly like the regular mobile inspection form for like a photo report. So you won't get, it looks the same. It is the same. So you'll get the location, you'll name the report, which is important. Same idea, the mapping, the details. So here's the details of the daily. So these are just what was configured by the coordinator. You can put as much or as little detail as you want in there. Like you put health and safety details, who the contractor was, the contract number, whatever you need to put in, you can put in. The photos, if you want to do a quick photo and a markup, just, this is the area we're working on today for this daily, you could do that. And once you have that, then it's not called submit, it's now called create. So there's these different terminologies for different kinds of reports. So it's no longer called a submit, it's now called create. And this means it'll open an open daily report for multiple inspectors to participate on. So once you create the form, it now is available for editing. And when you sync your phones, if you have 6 or 8 people, they'll all see that open daily report, and they can all contribute to the same daily report throughout the day. So if you had 2 or 3 people in the morning and then they had to go away for some reason, and then 2 more guys came in the afternoon, they could use your report, right? They can contribute to it. And your initials are all specified, so it's all very straightforward. So when you pick the daily report, this is what you see. If you have more than these, 5 tables, it will go to a lookup list. So this won't go off to the bottom of the phone. It'll stop here. If I added one more table, say visitors on site or materials delivered, it would have turned these buttons into a lookup list. And so you'll go ahead and select, say, new labor. So you can go ahead and pick just like a simple form. In other words, it thinks it's a simple form now. It's just three bits of data: the labor, the number of laborers, and the hours. And then you'll submit. These are one line at a time, right? So imagine if it was the same labor and equipment every single day. It'd be kind of a pain to do that. So we have a thing called templates, which we'll go through in a second. So you go ahead and submit that, and it gets sent. You go through and put your equipment type. You can take pictures at any time, so you can put all your equipment in. You can do a remark. So it's always good to have a little drawing markup if you wanted to add a remark and then add a photo. So these are things that you can do at the same time. And there's an option here, and I'll just go back to it. It's called View PDF Report. So View PDF Report will give you this on your phone. And of course, the phone is not great, but this is the Excel version, the generic version of your report. If you're working for the City of Toronto or region of Halton, we have custom reports. Waterloo, we got all kinds of different custom reports, and you'll see that exact report. If you have to get a contractor to sign off, you can get him to actually put a signature on this through a signature field. So that's one way to get some approvals. This means that once you can view the report, you can email it now direct. You don't have to go back to a draft or sent inspections. You can simply select the action menu and send it off as an email because it's now active on the server at all times. Setting up a form template is done by the coordinator. It's set up through the form configuration system. So these require some thought and pre-existing data. In other words, you have to know equipment types, labor types, these kinds of things. So what you can do is you can add equipment, and you'll have a description. You have the exact equipment type and numbers and hours. Of course, all of this can be edited at any time on their device, but this will put in 3 types of equipment, or 3 types of laborers all in one shot, so you don't have to do it one by one. Some people are even putting in remarks as part of the the way they like to template things. Let me go back to here to the screen again. So back to the original screen, there's an add template option, and when you select add template, it will you get a list of all your different templates that you've configured, and add template will submit them all in one shot. So let me go back to that. Okay. The contract items is exactly the same as the progress report here, but it has access to the original contract items. So the contract items is the differentiator with Builterra. So some people will say, well, we're going to use fast forms, or we're using pronto forms, or some other kind of mobile app out there, but none of them have access to the awarded contract items. None of them have looping labor and equipment and remarks. They all have almost like the single form entry. Okay, so that's where we're a little different. We have built a functionality that's different from the others. So contract items means that if you've checked off the access to tender items on your configuration table, it will actually prompt you for items in the form. Oh, and okay. Let me just go to that bid quantity inspection. Yeah. Okay, I guess I'm missing some slides on that one, but anyway, yeah, we'll just swap that. Sorry about that. Okay, so when you start adding labor and equipment from the phone, you will start seeing it show up under the contract items category here. So you'll be able to select the item itself from the contract, as well as the quantities, that kind of thing. Okay, create mode versus review mode is in, it's the same exact thing as the review sent inspections, except that it shows you each table what the reviews were. So you can say, well, I really need to change the number of the labor types. So you can select, even if it was even templated, you can select labor and then change the number of laborers. Okay, and so it's under the action menu. You would switch between create and review, create and review. So when you select review mode, you can edit all of the data that you had previously sent through any of the table data. So once in review mode, you've got full access to editing the data. Reviewing the daily inspection, again, through the web portal, you would log in, you would select the inspection portal, and all of the tabs that you see on the phone or all the tables appear in the lower right-hand panel. Okay, that's the project, sorry. So daily report, you'll go ahead and select the mobile inspection, and then here's the contract items, the labor, equipment, remarks. So you're gonna see all of this information in real time when it's submitted from the field. So I know some inspectors think, well, you know, it's faster using my pencil, but ultimately, when you have the contract items recorded here, everything's done. The quantity reports are done, the weekly quantity, the payment certificates. So it's really valuable that the product be used to capture information. It's more than just a field book. So the remarks, you can add up all these remarks, any photos or markups can all come through here. Reviewing the daily, yeah, okay, that was on the iPad before. This is the same thing, editing the daily. So when you get into editing the daily report, this is where the inspector would then go ahead and approve his own report ready for the payment certificate. So he can review the photos, add photos through a batch program under select add photo. He can edit the photos. He can add contract items here directly through using his computer if he missed something. Add equipment, add labor, or any remarks. Add the remarks just using your computer. You don't have to use your cell phone if it's messy outside. Generating a progress certificate, we got a couple more minutes left here, means that back on the tendering site, the imported bid, or if you've gone through the bidding process, you'll have an awarded tender. The awarded tender shows up on the phone, so when you select items, those items will come out in the as inspected items and with the quantities and the payment amounts. So when you create the payment certificate, you go ahead and select tender, and there's a sample of what the project looks like, showing progress. And when you select the blue pen, there, right there, you're able to create a progress certificate. The progress certificate is as easy as hitting the white X with a green background, that icon, and it just prompts you for the 2 dates to query the data. So when you create the progress certificate, in this case September, it will show you the number of inspections, what's missing for approval. So if you've sent it out for an external review to a contractor, or the supervisor hasn't checked it, or the inspector hasn't checked it, then this will show up and you'll see that there's something missing. You can drill into the progress certificate. So if you select the removals group, it will show you all of the tables under there. In this case, there's only one table. And you can actually pick through and look at all the quantities for that month. If you're wondering, well, how did they come up with 0.25% lump sum? If you select details, it will show you the actual inspector that contributed to that number. And then if you then you know who to call if you have questions. If you select view inspection, you can go back to the original tender, the original daily report. So even if it's a month ago, you know exactly who took the shot, and you can actually edit the data here and then regenerate the payment certificate. So it's really interconnected database. So that's the presentation for today. We've got a couple of minutes left, and if you have any questions, I'm just looking at the chat window. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them, and I'll put ask here. Okay. If you need some support with your mobile app, or you need your inspectors to be helped out in any way, just call us and we can come on site and help them. If you have trouble uploading bids or getting started, obviously we're here for you. All right. If you have any questions, you can email me at this email address, and you can go to the YouTube station and get some help there as well. We're here to help you guys. So with that, why don't we conclude the webcast, and everybody have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later. Oh, I do have one question here. Just a second. Is there a way to add locations to more than one location? For example, a street for 200 meters. Yeah, you can add multiple one inspection, but then every photo has its own geolocation. So if you had a 200-meter road, when you take a remark or take a photo, it will independently track the location. So the daily report can be just anywhere really, and you can have independent remarks and photos. Okay, if there's any more, thanks, Cameron. I will, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and email me and we'll get right back to you. It's been great, and have a great weekend.